Not long ago, someone on Earth had a passing thought.
The will to power and themes of objection. Friedrich Nietzsche, a pre-existential 19th century philosopher, believed good and evil to be social constructs. His ideas were influenced by nihilism, which challenged the distinction between what is morally right and wrong. In Parasyte and Maxim, Nietzsche, the protagonist of the story, comes across as weak-willed and meek. However, he does possess a strong moral compass. The parasitic being from space, Miki, appears to have an insatiable thirst for power and no sense of morality or regard for anyone but himself. He forcefully invades Shinichi's body, attempting to take over his brain. Miki not only contrasts Shinichi's character, but also brings his own language, culture, and customs, all of which disrupt Shinichi's inner psyche. Miki can be considered as a manifestation of the real, as he's from the unknown, terrifying, and impossible to fully describe or imagine. He's what you may call an objection. Kristeva, both a psychoanalyst and philosopher, defines abjection as the psychological process of rejecting what's impure, disturbing, or threatens the self. Miki possesses an alien otherness-like quality, something human beings instinctively want to avoid. There is a moment in The Matrix which I think captures this very essence of objection perfectly. In this scene, Neo is in a similar situation as Shinichi. Both are confronted with the real, and the state of mind starts to fall apart. In both instances, they face what you would describe as a rupturing of the symbolic order. When this happens, it disrupts the self and the meaning an individual has attached to the world. It exposes the subject's true nature as a divided self. So, are people really ever fully in control of themselves?
I am new to talking your language. You must teach me, Shinichi.
The divided self, the conscious and the unconscious.
There's no way my hand could just move on its own, could it?
Jacques Lacan, a psychoanalyst, described the human subject as fundamentally divided, split between the image of the self and the unconscious workings of the mind, which conceal repressed desires and drives. This division is structured through Lacan's three orders: the imaginary, symbolic, and the real. These three registers work together to shape our experience and understanding of the world, much of which occurs at an unconscious level. In Parasyte the Maxim, Miki disrupts this structure when he attempts to take over Shinichi's brain. Though he fails, he still manages to partially merge with his body and mind, causing trauma that destabilizes Shinichi's sense of self and reality. Another of Lacan's concept is the big other, a symbolic force that compels the subject to conform to law, language, and social norms. Miki disrupts the big other's hold on Shinichi, acting as an unruly mediator who reinterprets and distorts its demands. As Miki fuses more and more deeply with him, Shinichi's personality shifts dramatically. His family and friends notice this as he grows colder and stronger, and more resilient in the face of danger. Nietzsche might interpret this transformation as the awakening of a new will to power, while Lacan might describe this as a formation of a syntome. The syntome's purpose is to stabilize the imaginary, symbolic, and real orders within a person's psyche. The unity between these orders may fall apart when the person experiences trauma or an internal psychological conflict. The syntomes is a response that ties the structure back together and gives the subject a new way to exist by adapting to these changes. The contract of necessity Thomas Hobbes, a philosopher from the 17th century, believed that humans are intrinsically self-interested and driven by desire, often leading to conflict and chaos. In Parasyte and Maxim, you see recurring themes of self-preservation, survival, and other ideas found in Hobbes' philosophy. Miki acts out of a Hobbesian-like form of fear, not emotional fear, but a rational drive to survive. He makes an agreement with Nietzsche that mirrors Hobbes' concept of the social contract, a rational, self-preserving pact formed in response to the state of nature. Hobbes defined the state of nature as a hostile, lawless condition where survival is uncertain. In this context, Miki and Nietzsche choose to cooperate, giving up certain freedoms, such as the ability to harm or take control of each other. Through these concessions, their mutual chances of survival increase. Hobbes argued that society needs a central authority to maintain order and preserve themselves. In this case, a smaller version of such an authority seems to emerge between Miki and Nietzsche, a kind of self-governing body. After this, their relationship becomes less chaotic and more harmonious.
The two of us are gonna have to learn to cooperate and coexist. It's really our only option.
Huh?
Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you.
I would like to find out exactly what sort of being I actually am.
Jean-Paul Sartre, a 20th century existential philosopher, once said, "Existence precedes essence." In other words, humans have no fixed purpose or identity. They must create their own meaning. After Nietzsche's fusion, he is forced to redefine who he is, emotionally, physically, and morally. He encounters others who have also been taken over by parasites, but they commit acts of extreme violence and appear hellishly evil. It makes you wonder if Nietzsche will also turn into something similar. But his situation is different. Miki was unable to fully take over his body. This allows Nietzsche some freedom to choose how he acts, what he feels, and whether to kill or protect. With each choice he makes, he is one step closer to forming his true identity. The sum of his actions defines who he ultimately becomes. This resonates closely with Sartre's philosophy and reminds us that everyone is free to choose who they become, even when faced with forces beyond their control. I teach you the Übermensch. Man is something that shall be overcome. As time passes, Miki gradually becomes more and more a part of Nietzsche's inner psyche. This leads to an internal conflict. Nietzsche begins to question what he is and who he is becoming, but he must embrace this transformation. With Miki's influence, a new inner drive awakens, his own will to power. He begins to challenge Miki's survive at all cost mentality and instead creates his own values. This helps him overcome his obstacles, assert himself in the world, and make a real difference. Living beyond conventional morality, he begins to transcend traditional human limitations, evolving and setting forth to become Nietzsche's idealized individual, the Übermensch. You're still human. Kant's categorical imperatives.
All life is sacred and must therefore be protected.
When it comes to morality, Nietzsche seems to be Miki's polarized opposite. He is always quick to call out Miki's exploitative attitude towards survival and his tendency to put his own desire and goals ahead of everyone else's.
But it was still one of your own kind, though.
It's because of the canine. Maturation and environment were factors, but it was lax with its studies. Research is the reason I won.
It's like I'm talking to an insect. It doesn't have a shred of sympathy.
Nietzsche, on the other hand, appears to base his decision-making on what Kant would call categorical imperatives. Immanuel Kant was an 18th century philosopher who coined the terms categorical imperatives and hypothetical imperatives. Hypothetical imperatives are conditional rules based on individual desires or goals. whereas categorical imperatives are unconditional moral duties valid to everyone. According to Kant, the latter must be universalizable. Categorical imperatives should apply to all people in all situations in a way that is sustainable and does not harm society. He also states that human beings should be treated as ends and not merely as means, which is a belief that Nietzsche truly acts on, but Nietzsche is unable to grasp. Inevitably, the otherness of the parasitic beings disrupt Nietzsche's inner psyche, challenging his own moral imperatives and testing the boundaries of his own humanity.
These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.